Hello everyone, this is Karthik again. Today we just try to focus on layouts concept in AWT. So without wasting our time, we just try to go with the layouts concept of Java. So what are layouts? So layouts are a kind of organizational behavior of a particular frames. So whenever you want to organize the components in an AWT frames, we should need to have some kind of specific structure in organizing the components. What exactly are components? Components are the kind of objects which we add to the frame, like label, text field, I can say a radio buttons or buttons, so on. I can say choice, I can say list. Whenever I add these components to the, say example, a window, of course window is of course something like frame, we need to add this particular components into that particular frame in an organized manner. So organized manner in the sense, if you take a particular window like this or a frame like this, adding of components should have some structure. For example, I just want to add components in a specific order like this. For example, I want to add username and I want to add password, and I want to add each one follows to that, say a male and female, like radio buttons, and I want to add some kind of check boxes, say courses, so on. So when we do this, we should need to have some organized kind of behavior. If we don't use this layouts concept, the components will be in random fashion like this. After the text field, I have some kind of button here, I can have some kind of radio buttons here, so on. Means arranging the components into the window should be very important, because that will give the impression for the user who interact with the application. So layouts are the ones who will arrange the components in a specific structure. So all the layouts are the subclasses of layout manager. Layout manager is a class which is a superclass of all layouts. We have different layouts like a flow layout, like a border layout, grid layout, we have GridBagLayout, we have something like CardLayout. These are the different kinds of layouts in which we can work in Java AWT to understand how the components can be arranged in different kinds of ways that gives the look and feel kind of way for the user who interact with the particular window. So there's a different 5 different ways of the components which can be arranged in the form of layouts. Those are BorderLayout, GridLayout, GridBagLayout, CardLayout, and FlowLayout. All these layouts comes with an package. We already have idea about that, java.awt.star package. And all these classes are the child classes of a package class called LayoutManager. If you want to check that, just see java p space java.awt. Say example FlowLayout, and see FlowLayout is a child class of LayoutManager. In the same manner, I can even look for other things, say BorderLayout. Of course, all layouts are subclass of LayoutManager. Hence, straight away we go with the simple examples to understand what all the layouts are all about. See, to understand with example, if it is a flow layout is something like the components will be in a flow. Say a text field component will be followed by a flow of another text field, say with another flow of a button like this, and followed by a label, say like this, and followed by C, means the components will be in an horizontal manner, one after the other, without having any kind of structure. This is called flow layout. Flow layout is arranging of components in a flow manner. And apart from the flow layout, we have something like border layout. So border layout is something which arranges the components in an different borders, like this is an, we all know this is a north border, this is an south, and this is an east, and this is an west, and this is a center, right? These are totally 5 borders. Arrangement of components in this particular positions are called as border layouts. This is the north, this is the south, and this is something like east, and this is something like west, and of course this is something center. These are 5 different borders in which the components can be arranged. We call this as border layout. And coming to another layout called as grid layout. See, grid layout is something which we arrange the elements in the form of a grid. Like this is called grid. So example, we call this as a grid. See, grid is collection of rows and columns. So say these are the different kinds of grids. Means arrangement of components in a form of a grids. Example, say that I want to keep a label here saying that username and followed by an component beside that grid. The same way I want to say something like a password here, and I want to keep a component here beside that label, so on and so forth. So I want to keep something here, button like this. I want to say something here saying that forget password, and I want to keep something here, say that create account. So means arrangement of components in a form of rows and columns. This is something which we call it as an grid layout. Okay, and coming back to the next one is something like GridBagLaout. So what is called GridBagLaout is simply the earlier example. If you take like this, see username, password, these are 2 grids here. This is one grid, this is another grid. Actually I want to keep this button not here, I want to keep this button in the center of this particular row. This is the one row, 1, 2, third row. In third row, this particular button is placed on the left side, right side. I want to keep this button in the center. Then I had to use something like I had to adjust this height, width of the particular row to keep this button in the center. So how to keep this is simply I have to do something here. See, I need to keep this button like this, right? To keep this button like this, I need to adjust this particular row and column to be merged. I have to merge these two. So example, I just want to erase for some time. I just erase this, I erase this, and now I just say that this is center of this button. That is called I just write something here inside say login, and this button is now center, means it is the it is combining the 2 say columns to merge it center. So GridBag is something like arrangement of grids in an indented manner. Means how to arrange the height and width of the grid, how to arrange the X and Y position of the grid, how to arrange the grid cell positions, cell spacing between this component and this grid, spacing between this grid and grid. This is something which explains by GridBagLaout. And coming to last one, which is something like CardLayout. So CardLayout is something which arrange the components one after the other. Say example, if this is the component first I have created, say example, this is a component like say something like a label. Okay, on the components I just created another component. Now the component is like this. Say the component is, I just say something like username. On top of it I give another kind of component. Means arrangement of components one after the other in a form of a cards, as we play cards like heart, spade. So how we play cards in the same manner, each kind of say components are arranged one after the other on top of one after other. If you want to see the label, if you want to access the label first component, I should need to remove the password, I should need to remove the password card, I should need to remove the username card, and I had to go for label. Means in order to access each card, I had to access the top card on that card. So cards are arranged in and one after other. To get the fourth card, I had to take 1, 2, 3 cards and I had to go for fourth card. So this is something like card layout. Means this layout can be used for playing games or creating games. These are called card layout kind of thing. Hence these are the different layouts in Java. One is FlowLayout, BorderLayout, GridLayout, GridBagLaout, and CardLayout. Straight away we take simple examples to understand each layout, and we'll have notepad space layouts.java. First import the packages. Import java.awt.star package. In this video we just try to focus on how to create layout rather than how to work on that layouts. Okay, so class layouts, what I say, extends frame. So first of all, create a frame. How to create a frame? We should need to have a constructor. So public layouts and a main method inside this, public static void main. Now we all know how to create a frame. First create an object for that. Say layout space LA equals to new layouts. Once created object, we should need to set few attributes for that class. What is that? Set title, some title, say example layouts demo, and after that set size, keep some size for the layout, say 500, 500, and set visible and always true to see that window. And last one is very important one, the current topic is set layout. Set layout, if I don't give any kind of layout here, say example null, that specifies there is no layout for this particular class. Set layout is a method which adds the layout for the particular frame. For example, if I run the program, currently I did not add any kind of components. So java c space layout.java, java space layouts, sorry, so enter. See, I just got a simple frame that doesn't have any layout, doesn't have any components. Okay, now we try to add each layout. Now the first one is I add FlowLayout. So FlowLayout space F equals to new FlowLayout. And for this FlowLayout, you just need to add few kind of components that will give the layout to be shown in flow. So first, instead of null, now we keep F. Now try to add few components here. Say example, we'll take simple example to understand the concept. Okay, we just take example as a button here. Say a button space B1, B2, B3, and B4. I have 4 buttons here. I want to see the buttons in a flow layout fashion now. So how to see now? First create buttons. B1 equals to new button of say example CSC button. I will create 4 buttons here, 3, 4, and now instead of CSC I say ECE, I say EEE, and I say something like mechanical. Now see 4 buttons are created. Now try to add these 4 buttons to the frame. How to add? So add of B1, add of B2, add of B3, add of B4. I have added 4 buttons now. Okay. Now compile the program and check how buttons are shown in layout now. So Java space layouts. See now the buttons are shown in an horizontal manner, one after the other in a flow manner. This is something like a flow layout. I can now even change this each button into another layout. So I just keep comment here and I can add another layout here instead of that. Say example we take another layout as border layout. Say how to create border layout is see border layout space the layout object equals to new border layout. Now add B to this. Now whenever the components are created, now add each component to a particular border. Okay, because the border layout has 4 borders, 5 borders as I said. What is that? North, south, east, west, and center. Right? Example. Now if you want to add this button B1, say you have to say something here. To which position you want to add this button B1? So I have to say B1, comma border layout dot say north. The same manner I had to do for all the components. So copy border layout of which position? South. Border layout comma say east. Say border layout comma west. You can even add something called center, border layout dot center. If you add some new button here, say B5, and create a new button, say B5, and this button has something a new branch called CSSC, and you can even add this to a new border that is B5, and you can say it as center. Done. This is the border layout, means adding the components at borders. So just go ahead and compile this code and run this code. Observe I have got 5 borders: CSC border, mechanical. See, this is called north, south, east, west, and center. That is called center. This is called the border layouts concept. Done. And same manner you can even keep this comment, and we can add another layout called as GridLayout. GridLayout space G equals to new GridLayout. Sorry, spell mistake. GridLayout. GridLayout should need something like the number of grids in rows and columns. Say if I say something, say 2, 3, means I want to have 2 rows and 3 columns. Okay, depending upon that I have to arrange the elements. So grid layout space G equals to new grid layout of 2, 3. Now change this into G. Now you can remove all these things. You can directly keep now, remove all these things, because now I am changing to border layout to grid layout. So simply I have added 5 buttons to the grids, that is 2 cross 3, means 2 rows, 3 columns, that is 2 into 3, 6 grids. So now see here, I have CSC, ECE, EEE, mechanical, CSC. This is called totally 5 grids. One grid is empty because I have said 2 into 3. Sometimes you can even change this into say 3 cross 2, so that you can see in another kind of fashion. like this is another fashion. Each row contains 2 grids. Okay, this is something like a grid layout concept. And coming to GridBagLayout is something which extension to GridLayout. Means I just say example, when I want to when I run this particular program, I just said that the last grid is having only one grid, and I just want to keep this grid in center position. Means this grid is only one and this gap is empty. I want to keep this grid in the center position. I just need to use this. I can do this by using something like GridBagLayout. GridBagLayout can do this by writing some additional code. We have to use something like GridBag constraints. So GridBag constraints is to be added for the grid layout. GridBag constraint to be added to the grid layout in order to add that particular grid to have some kind of alignment. So means applying some kind of alignments to the grid is the main motive of GridBagLayout. So how to keep this grids in a form of say alignment is we have to add some properties, say GBC dots, some kind of positioning. You can do this. Say example, grid x equals to something called 1. Say example, we just do some random banner. GBC dot grid y equals to say 2. I'm giving some kind of positions of grid x and grid y. Before I add the buttons, I can say like this. Say example here, before I add this, like this, and I can keep some kind of horizontal or vertical. Okay, I can add padding of that grids. Say GBC dot say iPad x equals to some value GBC dot iPad y equals to some 10. Means iPad x is something called indentation of the grid from x-axis, indentation of grid from y-axis. All these properties we can get only from GridBag constraints. I can add this before grid 5 to check. We just keep an trial and error here. I don't have complete idea about GridBagLayout. I'm just trying to have some kind of thing here. I didn't keep here new space. We should need to have some good positioning of the grids. See, I'm just trying to push here. This is to be pushed here in center. Means if you bring this, if you want to bring this here, I should need to give positions to this. So giving positions is something like we should need to pad. I should need to pad the grids for this button. Okay, like this we have to use. Maybe the indentation problem, we can even do indentation here by adding the grid layout. We can have some few more properties of this GridBag constraints. We have to work on this. Like if you see this Java p space Java dot AWT dot GridBag constraints. Maybe the spelling is wrong. GridBag constraints. Okay. So we have different features of GridBag constraints. One is grid x, grid y, grid height, grid width. Means from the left side how much length we should need, that is iPad x. On the right side iPad y. Means the positions how you want to view your grid is the main intention of GridBag constraint. This is a very important class, and we can add different properties like iPad x, iPad y. We can add something like grid x, grid y. These kind of properties will make the particular grid can be arranged in a position where you want. Because what the position is, by default position of grid, if you see this position is given on the left side. If you want to keep this grid in the center of the position, then we have to move this grid from left side to up to some 5 positions in x-axis. So I say grid x, so equal to some position, and iPad X to 20 positions. I have tried, but I didn't get that. But this is the way how to approach. That is using what? GridBag constraints. The combination of these two will get GridBagLayout. And finally, we have something like FlowLayout. So what is FlowLayout? It's not flow. It is CardLayout. Sorry, CardLayout space object equals to new CardLayout, and just say here instead of G you just say CL, and I just keep all this as, I just remove all these things. Now I want to add all these components in a form of cards. Means now B1 is added first, B2 is added next, B3 is added next, B4 and B5. Means when I view this, I will get something which is the last one I have added, that is maybe CSC. CSC is added first. See, if you want to see the next card, you have to open the CSC card first, next ECE, next mechanical, and so on. Means each card will be added one after the other with the help of CardLayout. If you want to work on this, we should need to have some kind of have an action listener on this, because if we perform an action listener on this, we have to write logic for that. Means when I click on the first button, what happens from the first button. When I click on second button, what happens for the second button. When I click on third button, how the third button has to be viewed. Means one after others. So if you observe this, only one particular card is viewed here. The card is something like CSC, because on top CSC, next ECE, and next EEE. If example, if I did not add this B1, remove this B1, and now again if you run the program, now you could able to see the ECE card. See, now we have seeing ECE card. If I remove this ECE card, now I can see the EEE card. Hence, these are the different ways in which the cards can be added. Hence, this is the different kinds of layouts we have in Java, which are used to arrange the components in an organized manner in order to give the look and feel kind of environment for the user who interact with the application. So LayoutManager is a superclass of all layouts. FlowLayout, arrangement of components in a flow. BorderLayout, arrangement of components in all borders, north, east, west, south and center. GridLayout, arrangement of components in grids, that is rows and columns. GridBagLaout means arrangement of components in grid, but adding some kind of properties to the grid, means position of the grid, maybe X position, Y position, iPad X, iPad Y. CardLayout, arrangement of components in a form of a cards, like playing cards. Hope you enjoyed the session today. We'll come with next session with a very good topic. Thank you. Bye bye.